Let's hit our big topic here. So here's one that came in. I think it's kind of interesting to discuss. And this came in from Mina from Houston. Said, I'm a single mom making about 100,000 a year. What sort of lifestyle can I afford for my family? What sort of housing, neighborhood? Which island would stretch my money the most and provide a solid education opportunities for my daughter, private schools included? So I think this is kind of like a typical kind of question that we get in. It comes in a variety of ways, but these are the parameters over here. So I like to kind of get sort of a perspective on that. And also, we have a lot of Islander Ohana alumni on the channel with us. How would you guys answer this to Mina? You've all like, for example, Jess, you folks moved here from Texas. You've been here since June. What's your take on it? Auntie Joyce, you're well on your way to Kama Aina status over here. What's your take? Love to get you guys a perspective on it, in addition to Dillan's and Scott's. So, my first crack at this is I say, Mina, right off the bat, if you're talking about, if we're talking about the money thing, which is what the majority of your post is about, I'd say right off the bat, the simple, easy answer is it's a 50% reduction in lifestyle quality, because we're talking strictly money. It's strictly material. It's half. You're gonna be half as good as where you're at now. And why? Because things in Hawaii cost twice as much on a purely financial basis. On a purely materialistic financial basis, it's cut. You're going to do a 50% cut in lifestyle, according to material things. That's my quick answer. Let's do it. Let's go Dillan, and then let's go Scott. Dillan, how would you respond to Mina? How far? What's the best island? Private schools is possible, making 100 grand a year. Apparently, she has one daughter, so it's her and her daughter. What's your take?
Yeah, one island is hard because it depends on where you live on the island. I mean, if you live on the Big Island, you can buy cheap, right? You can buy $200,000 or $300,000 house, but you can also buy a $3 million house. So it kind of depends on where you want to be. There's not a lot of private school opportunities, but I think if you're just going to average things out, and you talk about private school, that's going to be $30K a year, probably at least, right? So you can take that off the top. Housing wise, you're talking $30 to $40K a year for housing, whether you're paying a mortgage or you're paying rent. So there's, now you're 60 to 70,000 into it.
So let me stop you right there. You're 60 or 70,000 into it, and if you're making 100 grand, if you take out taxes, you're left with 70. So you're at zero right now, and you've just paid for all you paid for is a private school and a roof over your head. No groceries, no gas, no transportation. Sorry, go ahead then.
I'm done. There you go. That's the easy math.
So I mean, and I don't mean to make fun of this. I'm not. But it's just funny when you kind of do all that, right? So think of it this way, folks. You're earning 100,000 a year, right? It's you and your daughter. You're earning 100 grand a year. If you got private school and a reasonable home to live in, that's it right there. That's as far as 100 grand goes. We're not talking groceries, car, nothing. Just so in a sense, Mina, which is kind of crazy, 100 grand is almost like a poverty life, almost. Right?
It's very hard. I mean, in general, it's very hard to live off of a single regular income. And 100,000 may seem like a lot, but that's kind of a regular income here. And we see that, I see that anecdotally all the time with like my wife's young teacher friends. They move here to live the dream and live in Hawaii, and they might make 55, 60,000 a year, but they don't last very long because you can never, you have to be renting a room with a roommate, or renting a downstairs unit, so you can't get a house of your own. Really, you're priced out to ever buy anything. And so even if you have a pretty good career and a solid job, it's really hard to make it here on a single income.
I think as soon as you throw in, thank you, Sherry. Sherry says, Waimea, Big Island may be good for you in good school. Great. Waimea's got one of the best schools, but like Dillan says, you're looking at 30 grand a year if you can get in.
And any house in Waimea is $1 million plus right now.
And any house in Waimea is $1 million plus. So maybe, you might be able to rent the closet, and that's about it. And not to make fun of this, but this is just the reality of the situation. Scott, how do you respond to Mina's question?
Yeah, I think the biggest complexity here is the private school component, because it is so expensive. Oahu has some of the best private schools, but like Dillan said, you're roughly around 30,000 for every one of those, 25 to plus, right? So if you don't have to go to the private school, I think it's much more doable depending on your lifestyle. From a rental standpoint, let me just break this down for a second. 100 grand a year is 8,500 a month roughly. If you're going to rent, how they would qualify a renter is 30% of what that income is coming in. So you're looking at $2,700 a month and that you would qualify for a rental. And that's doable. You can get a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. You can get a smaller, older home. And that 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, I mean, you can even get that in Diamond Head. You can get that in some nice areas, Makiki, Punch Bowl, easily. So it's doable. And then but that's going to take the bulk of the cost right there, that component. And Heidi had mentioned this on a past episode. Your lifestyle, what you spend on your lifestyle component changes here. We've all discussed this. You know, you're not buying the winter clothes. You're not having as much storage. The transportation's more affordable. A lot of the things you do are free because they're outdoor and nature based and things. So yes, it's a lifestyle adjustment, like you said, Peter. If you're trying to buy a home, it's going to cost you more. It's probably going to take half that income to be able to get into a quality place that you want, 2-bedroom and more.
Yeah, I think it's the private, like you said, Scott. I think, you know, the answer to Mina is, Mina, you're going to have to give a private school. You as we kind of show you the numbers, just kind of, you know, back of the napkin kind of numbers. And you know, is it number one? Is it a 100K net or is it a 100K gross? That makes a big difference because I don't know what the tax rates are in Texas, but I know that the income tax rates in Hawaii are among the highest in the country. So you're going to be dishing out for that. But yeah, I think private schools out. Essentially, if you kind of want to do the 100K lifestyle, is private schools out. Kinaya has kicked in. Public school is going to be our reality unless we hit the lottery. We'll supplement their education through everyday life, and I think that's the thing, Kinaya. I mean, that's what we're seeing a lot of actually these days. A lot of parents are doing the homeschool thing. Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to address the public school thing because I mean, I think there must, I don't, you know, research the public schools in Hawaii online, but there must be a lot of bad stuff online because I get this question all the time. I just met with one of the watchers of the show who was here kind of doing a scouting trip to see if they want to make the move. And they had a lot of concerns about the public schools. And I mean, my kids go to public school. My wife's a public school teacher. Are they great? You know, maybe not, but I mean, they're not terrible. And really it comes down to the family, right? I mean, if your parents take school seriously, the kids will take school seriously. If there's accountability, the kids will learn, and you can put them in AP programs. There's all kinds of great programs right now where in high school you can graduate with an associate's degree and go right into your 2 years of college and get your bachelor's. I mean, there's all kinds of really good things in public school. So I wouldn't be afraid of it necessarily or discount it, but I think what you read online is probably not representative of what the public school system actually looks like. Do we have schools that are rough? Absolutely. But in most cases, the school reflects the demographics of the community that are there. So if you live in a nicer community, the schools are going to be better. You know, kids that are going to go in there are going to be from a different socioeconomic class. So yeah, I wouldn't discount our public schools at all. We have tons of kids that achieve amazing things every year that come out of our public schools. And so it's not like this feeling crazy system.
Yeah, I think that. Thank you, Dylan, for giving us that sort of dose of reality. I think, you know, to put it in other words, your actual mileage may vary, right? Your actual mileage may vary. There's a lot of factors. It's not a universal thing. Look, one of my daughters. I mean, I put both of my daughters mostly through private school, but my younger daughter, she didn't like the private school experience in high school. You know, we went to 2 different public high schools. Very, very different experiences in those 2 high schools. Very, very, very different. Night and day. One was great, one was not so great. But it wasn't necessarily the school's issue. Anyway, Kinaya threw a quick comment here. Public schools in Hawaii are ranked higher than Texas. Well, there you go. So Kinaya, if you're in public school in Texas and you're moving to Hawaii, you're technically getting a little bit of an upgrade. And Auntie Joyce kicks in as an auntie to Dylan and Monica's boys. That's Monica is Dylan's wife. I can attest to the fact that the boys are really well-rounded and very bright. You know, Auntie Joyce, I would expect nothing less from Dylan's kids. I just would expect nothing less from Dylan's kids. Okay, we have a. Go ahead, Scott.
One last thing I've had, and I think this is a part of the planning and the preparation. If you're looking at moving over here, the question is, what are the schools like? Are they good? I've had several people that have come over here on I don't want to say house hunting trip, kind of get familiar trip where they take some time and they go and they walk the schools, they talk to people, they interview people so that they can see if they're comfortable with those schools or not. And that is on the public school side. So if there are questions, do your due diligence. All right.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, I mean, we have a thing in the island or Ohana through the what we call the Hawaii Transformation Program, a structured program. This is the we have a in fact our next cohort starts next week. We have a cohort of like 15 people that go through this process. It's a structured process. We meet every other week. And one of the things that we talk about is I call it the unvacation. You take an unvacation to Hawaii. It's not a vacation; it's an unvacation where you have to kind of simulate the reality of it, and that's one of the things that we do. Um, yeah, so I think this is a really interesting piece is that there's in on a strictly financial basis, 100K, just strictly talking numbers. You have to drop private school, go to public school, therefore do your research. You're going to need to do your research anyway. Like Dylan says, what district are you going to live in on the Big Island? Are you going to live in the kind of like the middle of nowhere where you can get a home for 200,000, but you'll be living off grid, which means that if you got if there's 2 weeks of no rain, you're gonna have to live without electricity or anything for a little while, or you're gonna live in kind of a modern society that has the creature comforts that we all come to rely on, like sewage, water, sewer, electricity, power, phone, etc. Jessica's got a thing here. Live on 50% of your income in Texas, save the other 50% towards a bigger down payment on the Hawaii home, and have a lower mortgage than you already have used to living on less. I'm going to read that again. That's a great sentence. That's like the whole plan in one shot. So Jessica has summed it all up for us. Live on 50% of your income in Texas. Save the other 50% towards a bigger down payment on the Hawaii home, and have a lower mortgage than you're already used to living on less. Boom. There you go. Right there, Jessica. You got it. That's exactly correct. Great advice.